It is the task of Ndlea to stop all this unacceptable nonsense of drug abuse, drug trafficking in Nigeria. Nigeria is the only country we have. We cannot fold our arms. We can, will, and must eliminate the drug scourge.
A major thrust of the fight against drug abuse in the country is the move to ensure that those involved in the illicit trade do not enjoy the gains of their investments. Thus, the Directorate of Asset and Financial Investigation is a key directorate that ensures that suspected assets linked to drug trade are not only properly investigated, but are also duly forfeited where necessary in order to deter other would-be investors in the drug trade. The Directorate of Asset and Financial Investigation, which investigates the proceeds of illicit drug trade, is our focus this week. This is Ndlea Today, your weekly guide on activities of the Nigerian Anti-Drug Agency. Good to have you join us. Also on this episode, the desire of the agency to upskill the healthcare component of the drug challenge came to the fore as the Ndlea is now providing a 24-hour helpline call center for drug users to seek help. Risking It All also focuses on more losses recorded by the drug barons. News highlights, Do You Know, and the feedback segment completes the program for this week. Once again, glad to have you join us on the program.
On the news highlights for this week's episode of Ndlea Today. Governors' wives pledge support for war against drug abuse. Ndlea premieres 2 movies as part of this year's World Drug Day. US Dubai-bound drugs says that Lagos airport as Ndlea arrests 39 in Abuja raids. Wives of the 36 state governors across the country have pledged to drive the country's substance abuse prevention program in their various states. The pledge was contained in their communique issued after a 2-day drug prevention, treatment and care training organized for them in Abuja by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Ndlea in partnership with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime UNODC. The training was aimed at enhancing the capabilities of the governors' wives to enable them effectively participate in drug demand reduction programs at the state level. The chairperson of the forum and the wife of the Ekiti State Governor, Erelu BC Fayemi, who gave the commitment on behalf of her colleagues, said they recognize the fact that the drug and substance use is a serious health challenge in Nigeria. And as First Ladies, they are willing to partner Ndlea in addressing the drug scourge in the country. In its quest to further sensitize the general public on the danger of drugs and substance abuse, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Ndlea has premiered 2 movies as part of the activities marking this year's World Drug Day. The movie premiere, which took place at the Silverbird Cinemas Abuja, which attracted dignitaries, which included the representatives of the First Lady, Dr. Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, UNODC Country Representative Oliver Stope, and representatives of various MDAs represents a new paradigm shift in the agency's advocacy drive. The two movies, High is the New Death and Trap, were not only well received by the guests who commended the agency for the initiative, but will equally go a long way in sensitizing the general public on the dangers of drug abuse. A Nigerian-based Congolese, Kandigu Kedi, and a Nigerian, Malkowulu Ebuka Anthony, have been arrested by the operative of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, at the NACO and SACO export sheds of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, for attempting to export controlled and illicit drugs to the United States of America and Dubai, United Arab Emirates. While Kandigu was arrested at the NACO export shed for an attempt to export 2.100 kilograms of pentazocine injection, Makowulu was nabbed in connection with attempts to export parcels of cannabis sativa concealed in cereal packs to Dubai through the SACO shed. Investigations revealed that the pentazocine consignment was being sent to Kinshasa, Congo, while a similar package containing 200 bottles of pentazocine injection intercepted a week earlier at the airport was heading to the United States. Meanwhile, in Yobe State, NDLEA operatives raided Sohuwa Kaswa area of Potiskum town, where a notorious drug dealer, Usman Alhaji, aka Nepa, was arrested and 22 blocks of cannabis sativa recovered from him.
Chairman Chief Executive of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, has said that drug users and addicts no longer have excuse not to seek treatment, with the commissioning of a modern 24/7 call center set up to attend to Nigerians from all parts of the country. Marwa spoke at the commissioning of the NDLEA call center with toll-free helpline manned by professionals and experts. According to him, the provision of this toll-free helpline is a milestone in their resolve to broaden access to quality health care for drug users in the country.
The step we are taking today will be appreciated by those who have a good grasp of the consequences of the patterns of abuse exposed by the 2018 UNODC National Drug Use and Health Survey.
The commissioning, which is a paradigm shift and a drug war, will afford every individual in need to get help with just a phone call. The operations, which is language sensitive, provides callers with the choice of their preferred language, which includes English, Pidgin English, Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. Asset and Financial Investigation is one of the key arms of the Ndlea, saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that proceeds of the illicit trade do not go undetected. The numerous activities of the Directorate have been categorized into 3 broad areas, which cover the enforcement functions, which entail the detection and investigation of drug-related money laundering activities, as well as the tracing and investigation of suspected proceeds of illicit drugs to facilitate confiscation as empowered by both the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Act, Ndlea Act Cap N30 LFN 2004, and Money Laundering Prohibition Act MLPA 2011, providing representation for the agency in her interaction with relevant sister law enforcement and security agencies, other government ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, and international organizations, so as to fashion out Nigeria's AML policies and enforcement mechanisms that will be in line with the global efforts and standards. Carry out sensitization and enlightenment programs on behalf of the agency for relevant stakeholders and the general public on AML issues as they relate to drug trafficking. For Dr. Ibrahim Abdul, the director in charge of the Directorate, the renewed vigor in interagency collaboration in recent months has been pivotal to the agency's recent successes.
Prior to the coming of General Marwa, there was no good relationship with other agencies. No good relationship with EFCC. There were competitions all over the places between all of us who are involved in the enforcement of the Money Laundering Act. There was no good relationship with the SSS. There was no good relationship with the custom or even immigration. But with his coming now and the courtesy call he did to those places where he introduced some of our principal officers now, so we are both exploiting that opportunity, both formally and informally. Many a times you see even the informal relationship that we have will give us more intelligence to even arrest criminals. Ndlea, if you give me somebody's, I don't want to disclose certain things that we do, but there are situations where people will want to be fugitive. Maybe they are wanted, or we got somebody that with drug and they are the barons, they want to run away from the country. Because of the synergy that we have with immigration will flag them. When they are flagged, they see the land border, their border, whenever he wants to pass, they will apprehend him and bring him to Ndlea. So you can see all of these things, they were not there before, but because of this synergy which he introduced.
That the current chief executive of the agency, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, had shown exemplary leadership has greatly assisted the Directorate to activate acts and conventions that have not been utilized in the past for better impact.
We have a lot of provisions, both international conventions as well as municipal legislation, which empowers the Ndlea to carry out a lot of activities, not only drug issues about drug trafficking, drug abuse or drug dealing arrest, but also money laundering activities. But the successive administration that came by did not exploit these provisions, despite the fact that Nigeria is a signatory and has co-opted and domesticated this convention into its own municipal legislations. So there was that lack of political will or commitment actually to exploit these provisions. So now we have come to with an era of a new leadership that came with renewed vigor, now exploiting these provisions maximally in such a way that everybody is standing on its own feet.
The robustness of the activities of the Directorate of Assets and Financial Investigation will definitely ensure that those involved in the crime will not enjoy the proceeds of their trade.
Yes, it's true. Drugs are a vice in our society, costing lives and huge economic losses.
But the story is not the same because the game has changed. It's a red card for drugs in Nigeria. There is a new sheriff in town. Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa is moving hard and fast with full speed and precision to rid the country of the drug scourge. Ndlea Today is a program that gives you a front seat in understanding the highs and lows, the laws of drug enforcement in the country.
Join us every Monday from 5:30 to 6 p.m. on the network service of the NTA, Africa's largest TV network.
Ndlea Today. Don't miss it.
The owner of the laboratory in VGC was producing this highly unstable and toxic drug in a house where he lived with his family. This speaks volumes about his insensitivity to the consequences of exposing his family, which includes a 3-month-old baby, to the danger of hazardous chemicals. The owners of these 2 illicit meth laboratories were successfully arrested alongside the cook or chemist that produced the drugs for them. Ndlea is obliged to brief the public about this recent bust to raise people's awareness of the danger that meth production constitutes to public health, and also to let you know the modus operandi of the parents involved in this unwholesome activity. This, no doubt, is a loud statement to those involved in the criminal, illicit drug trade that it is time for them to quit or risk losing it all. That is, losing their freedom, investment, and assets acquired through proceeds of these illegal activities.
As you dey drag am go, it dey drag you down. Water come out from my eyes, oh, when I remember all the guys, oh. Hey, many of them kicking bucket, oh, some cartoons like oh. Make we don't forget, oh, go dey talk it, oh, say. Don't do drugs. Rock up your see body, oh. Don't do drugs. Rock up wound your busy body. Don't do drugs. If you die, you go sad, oh. Don't do drugs. Oh yeah, help me tell somebody. Say, rock up your see body, oh. The body, oh. The body, oh.
This message is brought to you by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.
Do you know? Do you know that a person can overdose on inhalants? An overdose occurs when a person uses too much of a drug and has a toxic reaction that results in serious, harmful symptoms or death. These symptoms can cause seizures and coma. They can even be deadly. Many solvents and aerosol sprays are highly concentrated, meaning they contain a large amount of chemicals with a lot of active ingredients. Sniffing these products can cause the heart to stop within minutes. Do you know that inhalants can cause addiction? Repeated use of inhalants can lead to a form of substance use disorder, SUD, known as addiction. And SUD develops when continued use of the drug causes issues such as health problems and failure to meet responsibilities at work, school, or home. Do you know that people can get treatment for addiction to inhalants? Some people seeking treatment for use of inhalants have found behavioral therapy to be helpful. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps patients recognize, avoid, and cope with the situations in which they are most likely to use drugs. Motivational incentives uses vouchers or small cash rewards for positive behavior, such as staying drug-free.
Now let's take your questions. Marcel Bulus in Yola Adamawa wrote, "Can you make me know why marijuana should remain illegal in Nigeria?" Here is your answer. Legalizing marijuana will simply increase its use, especially among the youth, and lead to more medical emergencies as a result of getting high. Revenue from legislation also falls far short of the cost in increased hospital visits, addiction treatment, environmental damage, crime, workplace accidents, and loss of productivity. Marijuana use harms the user physically and mentally, and its use should be discouraged, not legalized. The next question is from Ifoma George. He sent this in from Warri, Delta State. Here is the question. What's the worst form of addiction? Here is your answer. Addiction comes in many different forms, and there is no worse addiction. Yes, there are more deadly addictions. For example, an addiction to alcohol or heroin is more deadly and dangerous than an addiction to video games. However, all addictions can have a substantial negative impact on the individual suffering from the addiction and impact them and their loved ones in a variety of ways. The third question comes from Grace Dawson. She sent this in from Abeokuta in Ogun State. Can addiction lead to mental health disorders? Here is your answer. Yes, capital yes. Addiction can lead to a variety of mental health concerns, including depression and anxiety, as well as other psychological problems. In some instances, such as with alcohol or drugs, mental health issues can be induced while under the influence of the substance, or in other cases, the mental health issues may continue to persist long term. Thanks for sending in your messages. We hope to get more from you. Don't forget, the medium is Ndlea Today at ndlea.gov.ng or ndleatoday@gmail.com. Once again, thank you. That's it on this episode of the program. Keep it in with us, same time next week, for fresh insight into the exploits of the Ndlea. Until then, bye for now.